Hey y'all, welcome back to Nikki Savage Podcast. Right now we have Leronda Jackson. Yes, who is running for state representative. Yes. So first and foremost, let's put it out there. What is the date of voting for this year?
November the 8th.
Okay. So no one forgets.
69 days.
Okay. She got it down to the T. 69 days. Yes. As of, what's today's date?
Today's August 30th.
Okay, so we let them know 69 days in advance. That way they can call off work if they need to. Yes. They got to get to the post.
Take off work.
Make it a holiday.
Yes.
Like, you know what? I think that's what it is really, like, because you hear voting and it makes it seem like it's a chore. Mm-hmm. I think we need to kind of change the narrative of voting. Yes. So many people have negative stereotypes to voting.
Well, and it's not even celebrated here. If you look at what we went through as a people, we should celebrate that. Like every time, remembering what our ancestors went through, you know. And so one year I was in the Bahamas, and so, you know, you're trying to get shopping in and all of that. Right. So me and my girlfriends, we all kind of headed downtown to shop. Everything was closed, and they told us it was election day. They shut down. You're going to go vote. You have no reason not
like
to.
You had no reason not to.
No shopping,
you did not
no
have to
go to
work.
It was a day of voting.
And this was where?
In the Bahamas.
Huh.
Yes.
And they've had it hard too. Like, so is it just like a U.S. thing, or I don't know?
You know, I think that sometimes as life gets easier, you get complacent. And that's a problem. And so then it takes another problem to get us out and do what we need to do. We just have to keep our foot on the gas.
This is true. Yeah, you are absolutely right. I like that because, oh man, that's a whole nother conversation.
You know, money flowing, I'm good. I don't need to go do that. I don't need to hear about that. That don't bother me.
Right. It's not my problem.
Right.
Like,
and it all comes back around.
For sure. Yes. That's why people got to get involved in their community. Not only just the community, just all over. Worldwide issues, everything.
Involved.
Stay involved.
You know, it's like parenting. You can't just, well, they're a teenager now, I'm done. No, you're really never done.
Right. Speaking of that, okay, so you said state. So explain how it goes with, like, people that have power over, you know, state electing and all that versus what's the difference between, like, what's your role, basically?
So, once I'm elected to the role of a state representative, I will represent my constituents, the people who live in District 39. However, there will be 99 of us at the table voting on issues that impact Ohio. So that's why it should be important to people in Cincinnati that I get elected, and people in Lima and Toledo, because out of 99, right now we have what we call a supermajority. So it means the Republicans run it, they have the most numbers, and it's all about numbers. It's a vote. So if you say, well, we're going to pass a bill that you have to be 21 to vote, and if you have 99 representatives and 60 of them say that's right, what's the other 39 going to do?
Right.
They got to follow suit. So it's really important that we get more people elected who have an agenda that we have.
Right.
And right now, we don't.
Right.
And when I say we, I'm speaking of Democrats. I'm speaking about women who don't want to be told what to do about their bodies. I'm talking about parents who have children in school. I'm just talking about general overall people. Some things are party or partisan, Republican versus Democrat, but every parent wants to send their kid to school and think their kid's coming home tonight.
Right.
Regardless.
Right. So it sounds like you're going for the people that are so commonly forgotten about.
Exactly. You know, or maybe they don't know, you know, I have this issue and it's something I don't like, but I really don't know what to do about it.
Right.
And I don't know where to take my concern. And I know we don't know because, for one, I didn't always know. And then for two, you know, as I go through the community and I knock doors and tell people that I'm running, people have issues and they're talking to me about wanting a speed bump on their street because the cars go too fast. Or they want to know why their electric bill is so high or groceries. People are just unhappy,
Right.
and they really don't know where to channel it.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to blame somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know who.
Right.
So the role I want is state representative, and they write legislation.
Mm-hmm.
They pass bills. They look at bills that are already in.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully some of that can get reversed. But they are making decisions for people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you have to come from a certain perspective
Mm-hmm.
to make a decision about my life.
Right.
Because A, you don't know me.
Mm-hmm.
A. B, you don't want to get to know me.
Mm-hmm.
C, you don't know why I feel the way I feel about a certain issue, but yet you sit in Columbus and make decisions about my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not right. We have got to get more fair
Right.
representation.
For sure. For sure. I love it. We kind of hopped right into it because you just scream like, okay, we making changes. We ready to do this. Like,
absolutely.
you just hopped in. I'm like, oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, I've already learned so
Dr.
much.
King said the fierce urgency of now.
Yes.
We don't have playtime.
Yes.
We don't have time to play. If I can't go to the grocery store and feel safe
Right.
because I might catch a bullet because I ran in the store,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Right.
And then I don't want to
Speaking
pay
of
extra
that.
because they brought my groceries to me.
Right.
That's not a free society.
Right. Like, I need
You
my
know,
food.
that's not freedom.
Right.
That's fear.
Right, for sure. You mentioned some of your issues before, because I've seen one of your events at JW Winery, Celery?
Yes.
Celery, oh my goodness. Winery, and shout out to them, by the way.
Yes.
But you mentioned gun control and all that. What's your standpoint on that?
You know, I would say I own a gun or two. I was raised around guns. My dad hunted, and then my mom had a revolver, you know, in case somebody just walked in on her. But, you know, I don't have an issue with gun ownership.
Right.
I just have an issue with everyone owning a gun.
Yes.
Everyone ought not get to.
Yeah,
They haven't
for sure.
earned that right. And so with gun ownership comes responsibility. You know, my vehicle that I drove to get here, if my car was in an accident tonight, trust and believe they could find me tonight.
Right.
Because my vehicle's registered. They know where I live. They know when I bought it.
That's a good
Every
point.
year I have
Right.
to renew my registration. Why shouldn't guns be the same way? They both do the same amount of damage.
Right. I like that.
They both do.
Right.
They are both capable of taking lives. And I think that I really don't know why we just had this newest gun legislation as far as no need to have a permit, no licensing, really no training.
Just
I
make
don't
it so
understand
easy
that
for anything to
because
go wrong.
law-abiding citizens didn't need that. They already own a gun. And if they didn't, they could just go get one. So I don't know what that was for. I don't know why we made it easier. And to me, this is just my opinion. We live in some aggressive, angry, impatient times. You look at road rage, you know, you have somebody, maybe they're not driving fast enough, and the person behind them is so angry. Maybe they turned in front of you, or maybe you got cut off. I mean, people are really angry. We are in an angry society, and so why make guns even easier to get?
Right.
I mean, you don't see people having fist fights, but you know, I just don't understand. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have nothing preventing me from buying a gun. So getting rid of the permit and the license and all the rules to go with it, that doesn't help me.
Right. Especially when you think of how easy it is to, you know, then get a gun and all the things that could have been prevented in schools and all that.
Exactly.
Like, had they not been able to get a gun.
And should I'm sitting here, it's 3:00 on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm just going to leave here and just go buy me a firearm today.
Right.
Well, why can't I wait a week or two before I can get it?
Right, like what's the
Maybe
rush?
I apply
Exactly.
for it, give me a cooling off time in case something's going on in my life and there's a reason why I'm getting this gun because I'm about to go do some damage. Why wouldn't I? Why don't we have those red flag laws where you'll get it in 2 weeks, like your driver's license, so you know when your license renews.
It'll be in the mail.
The little holes in your plastic driver's license. You leave with a piece of paper, and you get it in the mail 2 or 3 weeks later. And why is that? Prevent fraud.
Right.
Really?
We gotta wait to get my face on the card.
Yes,
but
we have figured out a way.
It's a good point.
To process a driver's license to prevent fraud, but we can't prevent death. So I'm not buying it. And that's why he needs to go. And when I say he, I'm saying my opponent. And really just all of those particular lawmakers. And that's what they are. You know, maybe it's a coincidence that they white men. But I don't think that they speak for Ohio anymore. It's just so important that we get out to vote. They don't speak for me.
Right.
At all. I have a grandson. I need to know that he goes to school and that he makes it home from school. We did fire drills? Now they do shooter drills and gun drills.
At worst we did tornado drills. Now it's
shame on us. Shame.
Yep.
Yes.
And it's part of why we're here is because
shame on us.
It seems like they focus more on wanting to protect the rights to have guns versus
the people.
Yeah. And it's just that's why we need you because you are for the people, you know, like you're down to earth. Anytime I've ever seen you, you just radiant and just down to earth and real. And people in, you know, the higher up places, they just focus on what gets them money, what gets them, what benefits them. Versus really, truly, genuinely caring about what's going on in society. First off, they don't even know what's going on in society.
They don't ask.
They don't ask. They don't go to.
They're not crossing the railroad tracks. Come on over here for a little while.
Exactly. It's like the debate with the cops that need to actually, you know, live in the city where they're patrolling. You know, they don't know what's going on. They don't know the people and all that. So I admire that you're actually out in the community, out, you know, with everyday citizens and all that.
And my opponent is in Vandalia, so it has to include those 2 cities, of course. And then it picks up some surrounding communities. So it's Clayton, but not all of it. It's Vandalia, but not all of it. I'm gonna get to that in a second. It's Trotwood. I believe it's 100% of Trotwood. It's Jefferson Township, but not all of it. Harrison Township, but not all of it. And then it's a little Jackson Township out towards Germantown, and then a little bit of Farmersville and a little bit of Brookville. Right, exactly. So, you know, when they draw the line, remember back in high school they had something called gerrymandering, and that was a person's name. That was his last name, and he came up with this creative way to allow elected officials to pick their voters instead of allowing voters to pick an elected official. So I ran against the same opponent 2 years ago, and our district looked a lot different. So it was like a 60% Republican, 40%, and maybe even worse as far as fairness. And so I'm working. Didn't know I didn't stand a chance of winning because the numbers weren't in my favor. So remember when we used to play kickball and you had 2 captains and they got to pick their team? And you knew who was good, so you'd be like, I want her and I want him. Well, I don't want him because he's slow. I want them. That's how they do. So we had areas where there would always be a Republican in that seat. And so after a lot of pressure, you know, pressure makes things change. So the League of Women Voters, the ACLU, some really large church movements across the country stop the gerrymandering. We want a fair district. Just cut it down the line. Cut it straight. So that's what they've done. So now there's the Trotwood and the Jefferson Township and Harrison Township, but it didn't look like this 2 years ago. And so I don't have all of those particular areas, and I guess you had to cut it somewhere, but they would cut up right through a block. So you know, like where Liscum is. So I have Jefferson Township, but I have Liscum, but I have on the other side of the stop sign. So you know, when you're trying to campaign and go meet voters, you got to double check. They might not even be in your district. Literally. So yeah, so I have District 39 that I'm running for. I'm super excited. Yes.
I'm super excited because that affects me.
Yes.
Because I'm actually with my mobile community center. I can be anywhere, honestly. Just pull up with the fun. But I live in Jefferson, but my family and everything that I pretty much take part of is in Dayton and then also Trotwood.
Okay.
So it's like, this is huge to me. Like, businesses especially, because I'm a young entrepreneur, and it's like, where are the businesses? What's going on? You know, so I know you schooled me earlier.
Okay.
You explain again, because I was asking basically like how you would, affect with bringing businesses to Trotwood and all that.
Okay.
But how could you play a role in that?
Okay.
Or who's responsible for things like that?
So let's go back a little bit. So you're an entrepreneur, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And so you made a decision, first off, what service you will provide. I'm sure you did some research to see, is there a market for it? And then you said, yes, there's a market. I know how to price it. I know where I need to be. I know where I need to have access to, and all those things that you do as far as your research.
Right.
And then you come up with your business plan. I did the same thing, 21 years in the insurance business. You know, there's definitely a market. It's usually recession proof, those kind of things.
Right.
But when you look at where do I plant my business, and what a state legislator has some access to and some they don't, is it affordable to be here and to start a business here? Maybe I'll move an existing business here. What do my taxes look like? So a state legislator can look at infrastructure. You know, is the city falling apart? You know, is there a road to get through here? Think back before the connector. I know you're younger, but, before the connector, was it convenient to get to Trotwood?
Right.
And was it convenient to get to 35, to get to Wright State, to get where you're going? And so that's why, infrastructure is so important. And making sure, like, the people are upset about Free Pike.
Oh, my goodness,
closed.
yes, because
and it's going to be closed a long time.
Yes.
It's the way in, it's the way out.
Right.
And I saw the engineer on TV, and he was talking, and there's a lot that goes into it. So we look at it, I look at it like, well, I went by there, and it wasn't even a crew out there. They work every day, all day.
Right. Got these cones out there. It's gonna be winter time,
yes.
right?
But there's things that we don't see that are going on under the surface. So a legislator can get some money into that community, as far as like maybe with some grants. If you've got empty buildings or places that need some work, maybe there's grant money to get me as an incentive, get me to move my insurance agency to Trotwood.
Right.
Or open a second office.
Right.
So those are some of the things you could look at. We all know some of the big box retailers who they get all the tax breaks, and then when it's time to start paying taxes, they got the 10-year or the 15-year abatement, they move.
Right.
And so sometimes we don't even know that as consumers, because look how much we shop at Walmart.
Right.
And Walmart left Trotwood and went a mile over to Inglewood.
Right.
After they got all the tax break, that's why as a business owner, I'm really careful on giving back to the community where I do business.
Right.
So my office is on Main Street, but I pull dollars out through insurance products that I sell. It's very important for me to siphon those back into the communities.
Right.
And so that's why when I'm asked, will you sponsor this? Will you host this? Will you do this for our kids? Will you do back to school? Will you help senior citizens? Yes. Because they pay my bills.
Right.
But are most CEOs like that? No.
Exactly.
It's all about the bottom line. It's
and
all about the dollar and the bottom line. But we have the power to change that. Ronald Reagan said, trickle down and all of this. I think it trickles up because we can shut our purse and we can spend strategically, and we don't. So, for instance, most of the time you don't even think about it. So let's say you were having a birthday party and you needed, to shop for gifts and all of this, and you needed some wrapping paper. And a store on Salem had wrapping paper, but you had to go pick the cake up anyway, and you were on your way to LA Cake or L Cake or whatever they're called. and you were on your way to Beaver Creek to pick up the cake.
Right.
So you said, well, I'll just run to that Target out there and pick up the wrapping paper. But you rode by a store in Trotwood that sold wrapping paper because you just didn't feel like making 2 stops.
Right.
You gave them the sales tax to that particular store when you bought your wrapping paper. So it's tough. It's so tough to tell people where to shop. So you almost have to educate people. Shop in your community.
Right.
And we can make them. It's a little tough when you got to fight for a grocery store. But we can make them respect us and respect our dollars. Because there's a marketing department sitting somewhere scratching their head trying to figure out how much money we're going to spend for Thanksgiving. You know, how much we're going to spend for Christmas.
Right.
You know, they already beyond Labor Day and Halloween.
Right.
They on next year's holidays. You know, how do I get into the wallet and purse of people who are in Montgomery County? Well, I must do this and I must do that. Oh, well, you know what? They don't drive to Dayton. They said bring the stores here or we just go without. That's how you make moves. But when you look at a community, you know, you have to be inviting as a community. State representatives can help with schools, especially like preschool. I struggle really hard with people who promote certain things, and then it's a fight for a mom to get a preschooler into an all-day program. Especially if you look at the numbers and you look at what they say about our children and learning. You know, children learn so fast. They're like sponges.
Right.
So why isn't pre-K it should be automatic.
Right.
Free and in every school district. No questions asked.
Right.
If you really care.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Especially within our community, because that would, oh my goodness, that would help single mothers and all that for daycare.
The cost of daycare.
Exactly. That alone solves so many. Then she can go to work, get income, put it back in the community. So yes.
And that's why I feel like that's why I'm a great entrepreneur, because I've lived the struggle. So if somebody's check doesn't clear or their payment doesn't, I'm not, what do you mean your account? What do you mean it was not sufficient? I've struggled.
Right.
So I get that, and I can identify with it, and I can understand it. You know, some people cannot.
Right.
The same as being a single mom. You know, when daycare is so expensive. You know, there's a place. You know, there's a lifestyle that I don't make enough to get ahead and take my children on vacation and be comfortable. So I don't make enough to do all that. I don't make enough to go regularly get my hair done.
Right.
But I make too much to get any help. You know, you're just in between.
Right.
That's the person I want to represent. They work. You're not gonna tell me they don't work. They work. They work 2 jobs. And so they're like in between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
And so the goal should be, what can we do to help you get where you're trying to go? Now, I'm not going to make you, because some people don't want more.
Right.
You know, what they say, you pull the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Right.
There are some people who are very comfortable where they are.
Right.
But there are some who know it's got to be an easier way.
Exactly.
It's got to be. And so state legislators have some influence on monies that make it to a community, especially through grants. We look at tornado spending, we look at COVID dollars, and all those kinds of things. But it has to be somebody who can identify.
Right.
Absolutely.
For sure. That's why voting matters. Can you explain the importance of voting for everyone, all age groups, representation for sure, but what's the importance of voting?
You know, when you look at voting, okay, so we live in a democracy. We also live in a republic where we choose who's going to represent us. Voting is the one thing that we all the same. It doesn't matter if I live in a community in a $500,000 house and I live in this other community in a $28,000 house.
Right.
When I get to the ballot box, my vote weighs just as much. And so I think that our ancestors knew that which is why they wanted to vote so bad.
Right.
I mean, they wanted it bad. When you look at the history, and a lot of it we've had to see through movies or reading it in books because we weren't here, but when you look at the struggle, the fight, the walk,
right.
You know, you're talking about somebody walking like 5 or 10 miles to go vote, and we won't even drive.
Right.
And got more than one vehicle in the driveway.
Right.
And we'll skip it. So voting is an opportunity to pick people that you feel have your views or will make great decisions on your behalf. And so even just today, we had a call, and it was kind of like, what are people in Ohio thinking about? So right now, women are thinking about their reproductive freedom and what they do with their bodies.
Right.
That's on the mind of women. People are thinking about the economy. People are thinking about guns and safety in the community, education, and those kind of things. So, well, how can I impact any of that?
Right.
You know, I'm so upset about my AES bill.
Oh my goodness.
Lord. You know, it didn't double, it more than doubled.
Oh goodness.
I'm upset.
Right.
And I can turn all my lights out, turn my central air off. I can do all of that. I'm gonna still get the same bill.
It's like they accounted for that.
I've called them and literally said, well, we hadn't read your meter in 3 or 4 months. Well, that's not my fault.
Right.
You know, what's the spike? This was a couple summers ago. I found that out. Oh, well, there's a rule. We don't have to read the meter.
Oh.
We don't. There's a ruling Public Utility Commission, another voted in seat, but with the governor. But we don't have to read your meter. We have to read it maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Really? So I'm getting like what you think I'm using, and then I get the big bill.
Right.
Because you had me wrong. Yeah. And we have to live with that. So voting is your voice. It's how you feel. And it should not be taken lightly. Sometimes people say, well, you don't just vote down the ballot. Pick the candidate that you like.
Right.
So the danger in that is, and the caution is, so I pick this candidate that I like, but when they get to Washington or when they get to Columbus, they vote in line at a party. So I sent them there.
Right.
So I believe you have to be very careful. So, for instance, people love Mike Turner, and I ain't trying to turn my interview into the Mike Turner show, but people love Mike Turner because they honestly think he keeps the base open. They literally think he keeps Wright-Patterson Air Force Base open. Single-handedly by himself.
The great Mike Turner.
They forgot about Sherrod Brown. They forgot about all these other people. It's Mike Turner.
Right.
So they are voting for him on that one thing. But they are overlooking the fact he voted no on the George Floyd Act. Well, when you see me, I'm a black woman first.
Right.
You don't know that I'm running for office. You don't know that I'm a business owner. You don't know if I'm a Christian. You don't know anything about me. But you do know that I'm a black woman. And so, how do you vote for somebody who doesn't have your best interest at heart?
Right.
So, voting is so important. And I talk to people, they are what I would consider a one-issue voter. Well, where do you stand on this? Well, here's where I stand on it. Oh, I can't vote for you. But what about these other 20 things that you love about me?
Right.
It was that one thing. And so I really wish we would do more research. We're very impacted by what we see on TV. I just saw a commercial the other day. It said Dayton has the highest city taxes. No, it does not. But her opponent, you know, that people could say anything. You'd be like, if you stop and think, you'd be like, that's not true.
Right.
But we don't do the research.
Right.
We don't do the work. And so if you tell a lie and you wrap it up in some truth, is it truth or is it a lie? It's still a lie.
It's a lie.
If it's got a percentage of a lie in it, it's a lie. And so voting is so important. From 18, I wish every parent, you got a 17-year-old, get them registered. If they will be 18 by election day, they can vote. When my son went to college, he went to OU, And I don't know how they did it. They was out at the campus registering people to vote and changing addresses. And they had him vote in an Athens, Ohio issue. No.
Right.
You can vote absentee
Right.
for stuff that impacts Montgomery County.
Right.
And so I want parents to know your child can vote for stuff right here at home.
Right. Even far away. Exactly.
Even far away. They can vote absentee. And so voting is your voice. We all need to vote. There are people who are happy we don't vote. You really never hear the Republican Party saying, come on, folks, we need to get out and vote.
Right, right.
Make sure everybody's registered to vote. We need fair voting. You don't hear that?
Right, because they don't want
you
that.
You hear us saying that.
Right.
Because there's way more. We just don't get out.
Right.
And we've gotten complacent. And then I think some of us are just kind of apathetic. We just don't even think it ain't going to matter anyway. My life's not going to change.
Right.
And I challenge that. I challenge that. Your life can change. Okay, so you can register, of course, at the Board of Elections, which is downtown in the county building. You can register online. If
Everybody's
you go to
online
the Board of Elections website or Secretary of State, and it says voter information, registration, and it'll ask you your last four of your social, what's your address, this and that. You can register right online. You can change your address online. They have made it so easy for us to vote. I'm
gonna add the link in the description box, y'all. So
yes.
No excuses.
Okay, that's right. That's right. And so, voting, it is important, and know where you vote. Plan it into your day. Like, oh, I get to vote today.
Right.
Not I gotta go down here and vote. No, we see it. Look, remember when Mike Brown in Ferguson, and the truth really never came out about the shooting. And when they looked at the community where he lived in, it was a high rate percentage of African American people, and none of them voted. None of them were represented as far as an elected official. And remember what happened when they got mad? They got people elected. People that look like them. So if I'm sitting at the table with you, I can say, that was the most racist thing you could have ever said. Don't ever say that again. I'm at the table.
Right.
I get to say that face to face. But if I'm not at the table, I don't get to say it. So, they say if you're not at the table, you on the menu.
Right.
I'm going to believe that. I'm going to believe that. Because we are never going to probably find out what happened to him.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. So we saw what happened in Ferguson. We see what happens in other areas when people take voting seriously. They start to turn areas blue. They start to make things more liberal. I might not agree with your lifestyle, but that's your lifestyle.
Right.
And you might not agree with mine.
Right.
You might say, whoa, she ate all them carbs the other day. She know good and well she eat too much. I mean, if you're going to start telling me how to live. Right. If I'm going to tell you how to live, you get to tell me how to live. Right. And that's the problem I have with what the supermajority. So that's what we call whoever's in power. So the Republicans have a supermajority. And I think that that's a lot of what's wrong with America right now. So if a young woman, or young or old or whatever, if she can't make the decision about whether or not to carry a child to term, or whether she decides to have an abortion, or whatever the decision, when she can't decide that for herself, there's a problem. Right. And if you think with like your whole brain, you would have to say, what's next? What's next?
And of all the issues, why is that the concern?
Right. Right.
My body.
I'm always thinking, so what's next? I'm never in, okay, you got that one. What you gonna do next? Contraception? Okay, so now you're gonna tell me I can't have an abortion if that's what I choose. I can't get access to contraception, and when we say abortion, let's look at a safe abortion. People are gonna get pregnant.
Exactly.
People are gonna have unwanted pregnancies, and unfortunately, they're gonna be forced to go some places that are not safe, and possibly lose their life. And so I think that that's terrible legislation, and that's what's so crucial about this seat, because even the legislators and the governors although the Supreme Court has changed and reversed Roe versus Wade, states will still have some say in what can happen in that state. So Ohio better get on the stick.
Right. Oh, it is scary times we're living in.
It is, but we got the power.
Yes,
We got the power. We just have to exercise it. I can't tell you how many people I've met that are not registered to vote. Or I'm walking down the street and I got my little t-shirt on and it's hot. I'm like, how you doing? I don't vote. I don't want to hear that. Yeah, and literally I can look them up and they have no elections, like they haven't voted in at least 10 or 15 years. Wow. So I'm like, you didn't vote for President Obama?
Right.
No, what's wrong with you? Yes. They have no interest. At all. But these people are making decisions on your parents, Medicare, Medicaid, the school your children live in, how much money is going to that school. You know, it's not a coincidence. Things are set up. There are systems in place. And so those systems need to be talked about.
Right. For sure.
You know, if you ain't shamed, let's talk about it.
Right.
Yeah. Don't hide it.
And instead, it seems like the ones that are doing wrong, or the ones that are trying to sugarcoat their actual objectives are the ones that's gaslighting and using, you know, let's just focus on this, or the ones that are so focused on their opponent and what they're not doing.
Let's talk about black on black crime. So as we talk about crime and guns, yes, we have criminals.
Right.
That's why we have police.
Right.
That's why we have a justice system. People are going to always break the law. People are going to always have this nature of, why pay for it when I can take it? Or why wait for the red light? I got somewhere to be.
Right.
You know, there are going to be people that live like that. But let's look at stand your ground. I did not want Ohio to have stand your ground. Lord, I did not want that, because I felt like Trayvon Martin lost his life because he wasn't carrying a gun. He was minding his own business. He was walking down the street. He got into a fight with someone who started to fight with him. Basically, he was winning the fight, and then he lost his life. So that was Florida, and we see stand your ground in Texas and other places. So Ohio was kind of like chomping at the bit. We need that here. Why? We have castle laws. You come in my house, you get whatever you get.
Right. Which makes sense, because
in the middle of
my house,
Target parking lot.
Right.
And we both angry about a parking space.
Right.
And then I got a little too loud, and you felt threatened by the pitch in my voice.
Anybody can say.
Exactly. So standing your ground when one is not your ground. I'm bothered by that. And I'm bothered by the fact that just by sheer numbers, you know, nobody really talks about the Department of Justice releasing numbers on who has more felonies, black men or white men.
Right.
Okay. But let's look at, we know jails and prisons are full of black men. And we know for a fact that there are crimes that a black man commits and a white man commits. The black man gets a felony, the white man gets a misdemeanor. So with a felony, you can't carry a gun. You can't be in the house with guns, okay? And this is how you gotta live your life. So how do you stand your ground when you feel threatened?
Exactly.
You never get to. And so it's coming from, you know, a different vantage point. You know, the whole thing is bad, and I see it as just open target on black men. I honestly do. The whole good guy with a gun thing, we just saw in Uvalde, Texas, we had a whole police force of good guys that couldn't stop one shooter. One.
Right.
And so we gotta vote. We gotta vote. We gotta connect the dots. That's what I try to do, is get people to connect the dots. Like, think about this. Why do you think the bus, the public transportation, doesn't go to this particular mall or this particular street? That didn't just happen like that.
Right.
It's by design.
Exactly.
So, you know, if we can get people to just connect the dots, let's figure this out. Why does the money end up over here and not over here? Somebody made a decision, because people in trouble eat out. People in trouble have good jobs, make great money. live in beautiful homes. People in Jefferson Township, same thing. So how did all of this get like this? It's not an accident.
Right.
And it's not a coincidence.
It's in so many different forms of it, and they found ways to make it subtle, but it's still the same.
It's blatant, and it's loud. We hear it.
Right. But again, it goes back to what do we do about it?
We gotta vote. That's voting is just a start.
Right.
If we would just do that, and then look up the issues. There are like the League of Women Voters. There are the NAACP will host one. There are times when you hear the candidates. Pick and choose.
Right.
You don't have to believe the commercial because the commercial gonna swing in my favor. I'm fabulous.
Right.
Because I paid for the commercial.
Right. Exactly.
You think I'm gonna make myself look like an idiot?
Right. Exactly.
But go further than that. Go further than commercials. Dig up, research the person.
Right.
What was my opponent doing before he ran for office?
Right. Exactly. Or what does this person gain from being in office?
Exactly.
Because a lot of people, it's like we said earlier, they get greedy, they switch up.
Or they make decisions based on their money. They vote, here's some legislation, and that organization did give you $10,000 towards your campaign, so you vote in their favor. And that's politics, true enough, but at least pick people with the right heart.
Right.
And the integrity to do the job.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly. Especially when you're taken from communities at that point. It's like you already don't have representation, and then it's like, so of course they're voting in their favor, making rules and laws in their favor, what's going to benefit them. But then it's just like, not only are you forgetting about the little people, but then you make it harder for the little people.
Well, you know about public schools, right? So, if your school district is struggling, I mean, like failing in areas where there's some harm, there's voucher money for you to send your child to private school. And you can get help with paying the bill. And so I agree. If you can't get it right, you got a school board, you got the money, you got the resources, and you are failing and you can't get it right, I don't have that to give with my child.
Right.
While you figure it out.
Right.
When you figure it out, call me back.
Right.
But for right now, my third grader got to get through this. So I'm okay with vouchers in those instances. But there are Republicans in Columbus who have said, well, you know what? We need to share the love with this voucher money. So you don't have to be in a failing district. You can be in Beaver Creek, Oakwood, Kettering, Northmont, and give voucher money. This is the same voucher money that is supposed to fund our public schools. So if you have a school district, let's pick on Dayton or Trotwood. You got a school district, they got some challenges. Property tax is the main funder. And so if the average house value is low, you're gonna get low taxes. You're gonna get low money for that district.
Right.
So you're struggling. Money is usually behind the struggle.
Right.
Whether it's a school district or your household.
Right.
We ain't got no money, we ain't going nowhere this weekend.
Right. Right.
Life is tough. So how do you take a school district that is already struggling and has limited funds and expand a voucher program so a kid that lives in Oakwood district, they want to go to Alter.
Right.
So we're going to get them some money so they can go to Alter because we gave a kid at Dayton Public School some money to go to Alter. Well, their district was failing, theirs wasn't.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. So you're taking public tax dollars to
it's
fund.
like if you had the money to give like that, why not put it into the school to make it right.
Exactly. But we're not voting. So I just read, where our governor said, well, you know what? Funding a school district by tax dollars, we got to do better. So what we're going to do, we're going to give every student another $1,000. Every district gets another $1,000 per pupil. Okay, so it passed. But if you read on down, they also expanded the voucher program. Right.
Of course.
So you're getting stroked.
Right.
For lack of a better term.
Right.
No. So I use the example when my mother cooked, she made one thing for dinner. If you didn't like it, you was gonna be real hungry for breakfast.
Right.
She wasn't making Plan B.
You better hope you like breakfast.
She didn't make an extra without onions because I don't like onions.
Right.
And she didn't. This is what I'm serving up. No, you're not gonna make a sandwich.
Right.
Because you don't want this. You get this.
Right.
Or you get nothing.
Right.
And then for breakfast tomorrow, you're gonna be ready.
Right.
That's the same way I see it. If a school district is performing and doing well, why should those parents give voucher money?
Right.
If you want your child to go to private school, you pay for it because the school is serving it up.
Right.
So you either eat it or you pay.
Right.
Those are things that the Republicans have done in Ohio. So then Dayton just went a little further down because now the money they really needed is way out somewhere else.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Making the better the best.
Exactly, because private school I can pick and choose.
Right.
Oh, I don't really want her because she talk back and I think she cursed and I think she gonna have problems. She got problems at home. I looked at this. They pick and choose.
Right.
Public schools got to take every child.
And then let's not even get into they got to take every child, but then they don't have the funds. They don't have the teachers. Now you don't have to have anything basically to be a sub, let alone it's just they're desperate.
Exactly.
Taking what they can get.
And teachers are running out of the profession in droves. In droves. Yep. But when I'm elected, I'm gonna work on that.
I believe that.
Yes.
I believe. What's your? I know your shirt said something about change. All
Energize change.
Change.
I'm talking about
Energize
this disconnect.
change.
When I ran 2 years ago, I was working on my little speech, my campaign launch stump speech, what they call it. And so the Lord gave me close the disconnect. It's a disconnect between the State House and our house. And the disconnect just keep growing.
Right.
It's no closer, it's no better. You don't see them like, you know what? I woke up one day and I realized, that does not happen.
Right.
The disconnect just grows. So I'm fighting to close that disconnect and connect your house with the State House. I asked a question the other day at the Trotwood Old Timers. How many people here know they state rep? I was like, I'll wait. A lot of people there.
Right.
Not one.
Right. I'm like, oh, you got me. I ain't gonna
You
lie,
pay
you
them.
got me.
You pay your state rep.
Right.
You know your mayor. But you don't know your state rep. Because your state rep ain't did the work to reach out to you. And you ain't done the work to see who was up there in Columbus making decisions. You just watch the news tonight, see what happened.
Right.
Not when I get there.
Years since I was really involved like that to know, like, let alone to be like, hey, writing letters and all that, kicking it old school, writing the letters and sending off to Columbus.
Drive up there. You can drive.
For
you can
social
go
work.
to the State House and you can testify before their committees. Don't pass this bill.
Even that annual, we did it for social work day. I can't remember what it's called, but the annual one, they're all meeting and then you get to actually meet with them and all that. And I'm just like, okay, hey. But it's crazy because they kind of just rush you off, and I'm just like, hold on, still got questions. I'm not done. Right. And now I'm hearing your face. You got
power
to
is with the people. At least it is right now. We got some work to do before that changes. This is still a democracy, and we got work to do to protect that. So
next step, it sounds like just pulling up on them as a group. Like, hey, we got some questions. I'm down for that. But right now, we're going to start with voting.
Yes.
So tell them how people can get a hold of you. I know for funding, it's always important. So to donate, to sponsor, to help you out, what is your contact, your social? What's the best way to help you out?
So my website is voteLerondaJackson.com.
Okay.
My email is info@voteLerondaJackson.com.
Okay.
I'm everywhere. I'm on like Facebook, Instagram, even my cell phone number. I used to, people like, don't give your cell phone number out. Well, somebody got it anyway, but they call me all day. Do I want to sell my house? So obviously, I ain't really protecting that.
Like at this point, at least we got a shot.
Exactly. This is a call I want.
Right.
So yes. So 937-416-5617. That's my mobile. I'm out here. I'm willing to answer questions. I'm willing to give my views. My platform, I just shared it, but I'm very passionate about a lot of stuff. I'm passionate about police reform. When other people hear that, oh, she want to defund the police. I said police reform.
Right. That's
If
two
I
different
wanted
things.
to defund the police, I would have said that.
Right.
You know, so we have to stop allowing people to twist what we say and then make it seem like it's overgeneralized.
Especially in that
Police
aspect, because a
reform.
lot of people don't know part of our tax dollars goes into when a cop kills a citizen.
Yeah.
We pay that. When the family sues and they get it, we're paying that.
Like
So when
the
they
$10
say
million
that,
my opponent lost the county. You know what we could have did with $10 million
listen.
while he was a sheriff? $10 million. That's a lot of money. And I'm trying to see how many cases been since he been gone. That's the next broadcast.
Right.
Gotta do my research.
So we got things to say.
Yes.
Because, I mean, with police reform, like, for one, our tax dollars, if we got to pay it, at least it would help to not have to pay for those tragedies. So with reform, I think people need to understand, like, explain what you mean. Like,
Like even the cameras, the body cameras, that was a great idea. There are still police departments that don't have them. That should be a requirement.
right.
Just
Just if
like
you
that
ain't doing
uniform
nothing
you
wrong,
wear.
what you got to hide?
That,
right.
Exactly. That should be a requirement.
And that make people think before they shoot, like, it's going to be on camera.
Because I'm looking at it like, okay, so my tax dollars are buying tasers, but y'all killing people with a gun. Y'all
Right.
shooting them. So what we buy a taser for?
Right. Exactly.
You know, did you really need that full
For the
armored
the police
SWAT
says, I didn't know
car?
the gun from a taser. Sound like they need training. That's what that will help with.
Yeah, or just realize people gonna hear that lie and know that that's a lie.
Right.
But you know, you got armed vehicles, you got heavy utility equipment like you going to Afghanistan. Imagine if you did something else with that money.
Right.
So, you know, I think that we're moving in the right direction. It's real slow. You look at implicit bias, you know, it's just a lot of stuff that the reason why we have the views that we have, but we are not honest. We are not honest. And I know good and well, if your training kick in on East 3rd and you can apprehend him without killing him, your training better kick in on West 3rd.
Exactly.
Because they both was running. They both had committed the same offense. But you ran him down and you was able to handcuff him and you just went on shot and killed him. And shot him in the back.
And if you that threatened every 2 seconds, it don't sound like you got the
probably
good
shouldn't
nerve to be a
police.
cop.
You should be a cop. But I just believe that there's more to it than what we've seen. And until America gets real honest, we're only going to band-aid it.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel that. Whew, we're gonna have to do this again. Cause this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Just the tip.
This is just the getting out to vote part.
Oh, we didn't even talk about voter suppression. Where I used to vote over here real close, now I got to drive 4 miles and I got to get on the bus and I got to do. But all we got to do is take up the issue and press the issue.
I like how they say days when it's time to vote, the RTA is free, but and no bus stops in certain areas. The main people that take the bus.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay. But just go anyway. Just go when you at the point where ain't nothing gonna stop me from voting. And vote early. You know, I talked about that somewhere I was, but you know, I was against it at first. I was like, I ain't voting early because they gonna cheat me out my vote. I don't know about that. I don't like that. I'm skeptical. Go on and get that vote in. Because then on election day, when the system crashes,
ain't got no
or the internet go down or something, if it's down, it's down.
Right.
And you're going to wish you had voted. So voting early is an option. And I vote early. And it's free. You park at the county building, it's free. They give you a parking pass. You in and out.
All right.
No long lines, no problems.
Right.
Yes.
Eliminates the I'm trying to get to work. Oh, this line long. Let me go. I'm gonna come back, and then they close by the time.
Yes, vote early.
Or you get there, and then wait, hold on, you gotta go across town to vote because we moved yours to what?
And you didn't know, and then over the line long, and you running late for work. You just gonna be like, I ain't voting.
Yeah,
like,
they take all that into consideration in certain communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
We gotta do better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm going to challenge all my listeners to get out November 8th and vote. Schedule it now. You got 69 days. 69 days as of August 30th. So And no excuses, y'all.
And talk to your family about it. Talk to your people about it.
Yes, everybody. Mm-hmm.
But they hope we don't. They already,
right?
You know, like when I ran for the primary, it was like, oh, it'll be a low turnout. Mm-hmm. And they always say, oh, they don't vote over there. Oh, them people over there in that neighborhood, they don't vote. Mm-hmm. We got to show them wrong.
Right.
They done already counted us out.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We got to be the change.
Yes.
Energize for change.
Ooh, girl, yes.
I like it. Well, y'all, that has been Leronda Jackson for State Representative. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for allowing me to come over.
Yes, this was fun. I appreciate you. And one more time, the links and how to support her will be in the description, as well as her contact information and the link to get registered to vote, because it is important. Again, November 8th, get out there and vote, y'all. Thank you, and as usual, stay lit, learn, inspire, teach. All right.